So if you're thinking about getting an AK and modernizing it, you should know Zastava holds a pretty nice advantage, I think, over other AKs when it comes to this. And we are talking about uh, the 1.5 millimeter thick sheet metal that they are using for the receiver. There's a couple different awesome things that you get out of that. First of all, when when AKs are fired, uh, everything back here warps and bends and flexes just a little bit as you shoot the gun. So a thicker material back there is going to bend and warp less. I mean, that is why these guns are riveted. Um, so originally, the back of an AK was just sheet metal, right? And then as time went on, people wanted to start slapping optics back here and stuff, right? And a lot of this takes a side rail to do. Like there is the side mount for the rail right here that this heavy optic is on. You want to make sure that that rail is attached to a thick build material. And Zastava has just nailed that out of the park. As a result, I can attach a larger, heavier optic here without ever having anything to worry about. If you pay attention, you will notice that a lot of AKs that have modern optics on them, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons for it, but they're smaller, lighter optics. A lot of people just slap red dots on them. That's because with bigger, heavier optics, you're going to run into issues. So this isn't that big of an issue on the Zastava though, because you're starting off with a thicker build material as your base, and then you're adding weight to that. I don't know if that makes sense, but it should. So you just run into less zero issues, and they hold weight better. Now, what's the price to pay for that? It's going to be a little bit heavier. You know, it just is what it is. Zastava's also absolutely killed it with this rail, and you can get these with the rail already on them. I've never had any issues with this rail. It's never shifted. It's been solid. I've mounted a bunch of stuff to this rail. I can honestly say about the only issues with these AKs is the same issue with every AK. You're going to want to oil them. They will start rusting. Again, though, this is a thicker material, so it's going to take longer to rust all the way through, right? But that's something that all sheet metal AKs, they're all going to have that issue. Aside from that, this one lends itself very well for bigger, heavier optics. So if you're going to try to build an AK to maybe go out to mid-range to, and you want a bigger, heavier optic, the Zastava is probably a better base for it than a lot of other AKs. So this optic in particular has a super wide field of view, which lends itself very useful to this AK. If you know anything about the 7.62 by 39, it's got a lot of bullet drop. So having a wide field of view is really awesome to go out to range a little bit. 500-600 yards, this thing's awesome. I can see my target in the very bottom of my optic. If I had a different optic with a smaller field of view, I would just be aiming out into the clouds somewhere without actually seeing my target in the very bottom of my optic. So it is very useful, and I'm happy that I can have this bigger, heavier optic on my Zastava. So very awesome. One of the complaints you'll hear is that it's harder to find stuff for Yugo pattern AKs. Look, that complaint is like 10 years old. It is outdated. Fab Defense makes a bunch of awesome stuff for AKs. All of this furniture, this shock absorber stock that actually has a spring in it, my pistol grip on here is all from FAB Defense. They just make great stuff for it, and I see plenty of other name brands making Yugo stuff. The only other issue with the Zastava, and I've mentioned this in my other vids, UTG made an awesome rail for them, but this side mount that UTG makes is crap. So I've had to get one from, what is this, Midwest Industries. This thing is awesome. You can loosen it and you can adjust it so that your optic is centered over bore. The UTG ones that came on the Zastava were kind of crooked, so, and they were non-adjustable, so you couldn't get your optic to sit center over bore. That was kind of important to me, so I got the Midwest Industry instead. Aside from that, the front rail that came on this has just been absolutely awesome. This thing is a tank. It's held up, and I know that I will be able to pass this AK down to my kid, and he'll probably be able to pass it down to his kid. That's how solid this thing is. That's how strongly I feel about it. So if you are looking to build out like a medium range AK with a heavier optic and maybe some rail candy, Zastava is a really, really good starting point. They got the stuff, right? These also have a beefed up trunnion in them. um, why not have that, right? All of this, of course, is at the cost of weight. You're going to have somewhat of a heavier rifle. These are absolutely awesome on a bipod, and there's just something to be said about a heavy bipoded rifle. So, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you at the range.